So before we get stuck into the Emoji Movie, I want to kind of examine how civilization got to this point, which I think is really important. If you think back to the Angry Birds film, news that animation, that was another Sony animation, was being made, kind of surfaced in 2012, which was about 3 years into the Angry Birds craze. The film took another 4 years to produce, and it was quite a long process. Like, the Angry Birds film came out long after Angry Birds had been a thing. The Emoji Movie's path to the screen has been much, much more streamlined. I think Sony won a bidding war to make this film with 2 other studios in July of 2015. Seven figures they paid for the rights. And it's taken 2 years since then, almost to the month, to get the Emoji Movie from concept to reality. And I remember a lot of the reporting at the time suggested that, the Emoji Movie, a film based on little mobile phone icons, it's the death of culture, it's the ultimate sellout. It's a kind of a new vapid and sickening low for animation. And what's really interesting to look back on these reports now is just how naively underpowered those early fears were. I'm going to read you something that the director of the Emoji Movie, Tony Leondis, said in an interview in the Sunday Times last week.
Okay.
He said, "Our premise is, for the Emoji Movie, do I have to change for the world to accept me, or can I change the world for the better because of my differences?" Here's the way the Emoji Movie addresses that concept. It's set inside the architecture of a 14-year-old boy's mobile phone, and the emojis all live in this city called Textopolis, not Monstropolis, Textopolis. And the way in which they do their jobs as emojis is they stand on this enormous grid and they wait around all day until the owner of the phone, Alex, decides which one he wants to use. They then look up at the screen to see which one he's going to press. Then a large robotic arm will turn around and find the corresponding emoji person on the grid, who then has to pull the face that they were born to pull, which is the emoji icon. The robotic finger scans that face and then relays it to the mobile phone screen. Now, I can't, for the life of me, think of a more incomprehensible way you could turn the function of emojis on a mobile phone into a story. Anyway, you have this one particular emoji called Gene, who's voiced by TJ Miller. He's the meh emoji, but he turns out to be very expressive in real life. The fact that he's so expressive causes havoc at the emoji factory. So he decides to go off to the cloud, which is the great digital beyond, to become reprogrammed and to become meh through and through. He's joined on this journey by 2 further emojis voiced by James Corden and Anna Faris, who want to go to the cloud for completely unrelated reasons. Apparently the cloud will solve all of these problems. It's never really explained why. Meanwhile, there is a plot going on back at Emoji HQ in Textopolis to delete Gene before he causes any more havoc. And here is that plot unfolding.
I am so angry. I really need to stay happy. Can we please lighten the mood?
No one can resist una fiesta!
Ole! Not that happy. We've only got 4 hours before Alex's phone appointment. If they find a malfunction on the phone, we are all gonna be wiped.
She said wiped.
Aim higher, Stephen.
So that was Patrick Stewart's voice there. We'll come back to that in a moment. But you have these 2 quests going on simultaneously. One of Gene trying to get from one side of the phone up to the cloud, and the other in real life. Meanwhile, Alex's phone is malfunctioning, so he has to take it to get repaired. Now, July 2015 was when Sony won the bidding war for the Emoji Movie. Let me tell you something else that happened in July.
Bidding war?
Yeah, the bidding war to make this film. Let me tell you something else that happened in July 2015. Pixar released Inside Out. Now, I have no factual evidence to support this whatsoever, but I guarantee you that bidding war was won by someone from Sony Animation going in and saying, we're going to make Inside Out, but with emojis, because that is basically what they've tried to do. The difference is when Pixar did Inside Out, they kind of did this phenomenally complex addressing of the value of emotions, the function of dreams and the subconscious, the way in which someone's psyche can be destroyed and remade at the point of moving from childhood into adolescence and then into adulthood. And fundamentally, I think, spoke to the beauty of transience and loss in life. You can't be the same person forever. You have to grow and change. The way in which the makers of the Emoji Movie have done it is they said, okay, we're going to do a lot of product placement for apps, and we're going to do some jokes about poo as well. And poo, the poo emoji, is played by Sir Patrick Stewart.
Wow.
And he's credited. You remember the Mark Strong butt game where people get special credits at the end of films. He's not just credited as Patrick Stewart. He's credited as Sir Patrick Stewart. And there's a kind of a glint of triumph in the fact that they've used the Sir, because it's like, yes, we've ruined this guy with this film, and we want you to know that we know we've ruined this guy. It's not that it's toilet humour like in Captain Underpants, the poo thing. Also, that I should say, the poo character has absolutely nothing to do with the story. He just keeps on popping up to crack a lot of basically single entendres about poo. And then at the very end, he does a joke about Star Trek because it's Patrick Stewart. But what you have is, rather than actual toilet humour, it's just a poo talking about poo.
Single entendres.
It's like pooception, poo within poo. Anyway, we've talked a lot about the poo. We need to talk about the way in which the film uses the apps as well, because this is where the real Inside Out overlap comes. Inside Out was a journey across a 14-year-old psyche, mapped out into this terrain. The Emoji Movie moves through apps on the 14-year-old boy's phone, and you would think that because there's this parallel narrative outside of the phone going on, the film might take the time to address, the kind of concerns a 14-year-old might have with being online all the time, like, cyberbullying or privacy or peer pressure or any of these things that could be addressed. Absolutely not. All that happens as they go through these apps, and they are all, by the way, branded apps. So the film is, moving through, I know mentioning names is probably not appropriate, but it moves through all of these specifically branded apps, many of which cost money to download, others of which cost money to continue using. And basically, the way in which this hero's journey takes place is by going through all of these branded apps. So you have a film that is aimed at primary school children that is saying, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. And it is contemptible beyond measure to me that the entire film could be basically built on product placement. Never mind that it is beneath ugly to look at, or that it is obsessed with the Patrick Stewart poo character and keeps bringing us back to this horrific creation. It's the way that you feel like you're being yelled at for 86 minutes to spend money online without any kind of addressing of what a child's experience online might actually be, that just makes this film feel so completely cynical. When also, I should say, when it's not ripping off Inside Out, it's ripping off the Lego Movie. There's a lot of other films that it's doing. It doesn't have an original thought in its head. The amount of money that has been expended on this, genuine animating talent that's been expended on this, when other films struggle to get made, is heartbreaking. It makes something like The Boss Baby, which is a film that has been, I feel has been trailing me around like a bad smell all year. It makes The Boss Baby look like the work of Studio Ghibli. I mean, it chilled me to the core. It made me want to throw my iPhone down a ravine. There's just nothing about this that's redeeming. I cannot imagine cinema this year getting any worse than this.